everybody. Welcome to week 6 of the drawing course. Let's get started. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I just thought if ever you want to include figures in your paintings, this is quite a straightforward way to do it. Particularly if you just want to put like a silhouette of a figure, you know, if you're doing a sunset or a road with a distant figure in the road. I mean, this is just a simple way to get the body parts in the right proportions. So it's just a very kind of easy introduction to figures. So what I've done is in the notes. So this is week 6 figure drawing. So I've just put together like a little scale similar to the one that we used for how to get a face in proportions. And I've done the scale that works side on or front on, just to kind of give you a nice starting point. The side on is interesting because can you see this little green curve? It kind of shows you where naturally your bumps would be, your kind of emphasis, where the thighs are slightly, you know, they come out further at the front than at the back, unless you're really muscly quads. So that's kind of an interesting shape there, that green line. It kind of helps give the curve. And then this scale, so this scale works for a side-on view or a front view, which again, if you're just doing a simple silhouette in a painting, it's just an introduction. So we're going to start by using this framework, and we're going to create a simple figure of a man. But this is all in the notes. I just wanted to show you how this works in more dramatic figures. So these are actually, I thought this lady was a ballerina, but she's actually a ninja fighter. But this is just using a ball and socket technique, which is how a lot of artists will start with their figures, and then you'll basically put meat on the bone. So it's called a ball and socket technique. And the lines are the bones, and the circles are where the joints, so where the limbs bend. So we're going to be using this scale to create our first drawing of a person. And simple rule of thumb, you've got the chin on line 1. The shoulders, we always do like a little curve, so like a cotango with 2 little balls on the end. This one says the nipples are at number 2, but if you think about the measurements, that is a good way of knowing where things are going to go. The belly button is always in line with the elbows, and again, that's another kind of, I've done this in inches, so it's 3 inches down. Hip joints are next, and they're also in line with the wrists. The fingertips come in line with halfway down the thighs, and then like 6 inches would be the bottom of the kneecaps, if you're going to use the scale. So we're actually going to just draw a scale, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But it's going to be 8 lines down one side, and then I'm just going to divide it into 4 inches going across. But I'm going to show you all of this in a minute. Just wanted to talk through the notes. And then basically taking that initial skeleton using the ball and socket technique, we're then going to bring in some simple known shapes: ovals, triangles, circles, squares, to put some meat on the bones. Then we're going to put some clothes on the body, and then we're going to erase all of our guidelines and do a simple shading of figure. And then I don't think we'll have time in the class. It depends how speedy you are, but this was something I thought I'd put in as homework or as an extra practice exercise if you want to try it. So this is step by step how to create a scene with people in different stances. So it's kind of quite self-explanatory. It's just slightly different positions, but again, starting with the ball and socket technique, then putting the shapes, the meat on the bones, then putting the clothes on, and then eventually taken you right up to where you could actually color and make it kind of like an animated drawing. And then I've actually given you a YouTube link for a video on how to draw foreshortened figures. So I've given you a little example there of what I mean by foreshortening. So you see how the head looks smaller than the hands, because the hands in front. So it's just a little simple video on foreshortening. And so this is all, you know, each week we've just done a very basic introduction to simple, you know, each topic is just like a taster. So this is just a taster into figure drawing. And then what I would like to do at the end is just kind of ask you what you would like me to build in, which parts you've enjoyed the most and which parts you would like me to build into a potential second series to this. So if there's something that you really don't want to do again, then I'll bear that in mind. So it would be nice to have a little discussion at the end to get some feedback from me. I will be sending out a questionnaire as well, but it's just kind of useful to find out which bits you found interesting. So yeah, so hopefully this is going to be a nice little simple introduction to figure work. I think after this you'll realize why I don't put a lot of figures into my paintings. It's not my strength, but it's something that I know a lot of people would like to put figures in, especially if you're painting a photograph of, you know, something that's special to you, and there are people in your photographs that you would like to transfer into the painting. So this will give you a little formula of how to do it, so you can look at the figures, turn them into a ball and socket drawing, then put the meat on the bones, then put the clothes. So hopefully it'll give you a nice step-by-step how to do it. So yeah, so you're gonna have, it's just gonna be a grid that you're gonna make. Just gonna raise this up a little bit. There we go. And then the tools I'm going to use tonight: pencil, eraser, and eventually I'm going to use my ink. So I'm hoping that this will show up on camera if I do this all in pencil. I mean, it doesn't have to be inch by inch. You can, as long as you have the kind of evenly distributed, you can do centimeters, or you can just not bother measuring and eyeball it. It's doesn't have to be perfect. It's just helpful to have the grid. The first drawing we're going to do is a circle, and it can fill. I'm going to do it across line 3, so the horizontal line 3, and I'm just going to do a head shape, so slightly oval. So it's just a guideline, so you could just draw a circle if you want.
Is it on line 3, yeah, of the table or of the thing? Because I only have 4 boxes.
So it's between 0 and 1.
Oh, yeah.
And And you can do it on line 2 if you want, or on line 3. I've just moved mine across a bit so it's more central, but
okay, got it. Yeah.
yeah. And this is going to be, this part here is the chin. So you can even write the side here, chin, just as a guideline, a guide for you. Just gonna write chin there. I'm gonna take a straight line all the way down to our horizontal line 3. We've made a little balloon. And I'm gonna right alongside that, that's gonna be the belly button stroke elbow. So we've made a little balloon or a little lollipop. Okay, and then in between 3 and 4, we can draw another circle. People draw an upside down triangle. Bottom of line 4, that's the hip. So I'm going to draw 2 little circles either side of this. And that's going to be kind of my pelvis area. And then I'm going to draw 2 lines coming from those little circles. So they're about, about halfway down my grid system. So a bit halfway down here. And I'm going to take this down to line number 6 on the other side, line number 6. I'm going to do 2 more circles here.
Is there a rule of thumb as to how much wider the oval for the hips is compared to the head? Like
Not particularly. I'm doing this kind of about the width of the head. So if you think about the, where the ears are, kind of in line with the ears, but I mean, it all depends on the frame of the person you're drawing, really. Because we're going to put meat on the bones anyway. So
I'm talking about before meat.
before meat, I would say go in line with where the ears would be.
Yeah, once you put meat on the hips, they're about like 10 times the width of the head.
If it's my hips, it's going to be especially after all of the food I've eaten while I've been in England. Oh, been really enjoying the English food. So then from those little circles, I'm going to take another line down to number 8.
Are those the knees?
So that's the knees. Sorry, I should write that. So this is kneecaps. Kneecaps. Okay. And then 2 more spaces down to number 8. And this is the feet or ground. And then I've actually included, did I put it in yet? Oh, I didn't put it in. So I'm going to add a little drawing which I found, which gives proportions of different parts of your body and how they relate to other parts as far as measurements are concerned. So I'm going to add that in at the bottom. I meant to put that in, so just give me a second. I'll add that in now while I remember, before I get too tired. It was a really cool, here we go, and I'm going to share it. So I'm going to put this in as the last page, and then I'm going to screen share. So I found this very interesting. Can you see my screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
So elbow to fingertips equals knee to heel. And then arm stretch to forearm is the equivalent of your foot. And then there's another one about arm bent, forearm, wrist to inside of elbow. So I just thought those measurements were quite useful. You know, it's a little reference, but I've put that in as just an extra bit of interest. You don't need to know it right now for this drawing, but it's just kind of handy to know. So if you think that from the elbow to the tip of the fingers is the same as the knee to the heel. We're going to put the shoulders in next. So about halfway down from the chin before number 2, which number 2, by the way, is the nipples. So I'm going to put 2 little dots there just for reference. Okay, so I'm going to take the shoulders out. So I'm taking the shoulders out to my 2 edge points. So the other 2 inch points here. So I'm going to draw a circle on my number 2 and a circle on my number 4. And I say I do a little bit of a curved, like coat hanger-y type. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little circle for the elbow joint, so they rest above the number 3 in line with the shoulders. Depending on if your arms are slightly outstretched, they'd be a little bit towards, you know, the outside. So I'm going to join those up. So that's your elbow, and your belly buttons are all lined up. If you ever, you know, you see these little wooden mannequins in the dollar store, they're actually really useful to have for practicing sketching and putting them in different positions and doing this kind of ball and socket drawing based on those little wooden mannequins. Okay, so then the wrists are in line with the hip joints. So I'm going to put 2 more circles there. And then this always looks weird, but you have to think your hands are actually quite long when they're outstretched. So our hands are actually between 4 and 5, including the wrist. So these always look like really weird until you put the sleeves and the clothes and the meat on the bones. So we're gonna, after we've done that, we're gonna put some meat on the bones. So we're gonna, this is the next stage. We're gonna put some meat on the bones. Again, sticking to simple shapes. So this is the next stage. I'll put that to one side so you can see it. Okay, so I'm gonna continue in ink just so you can see it more clearly. But you know, I would recommend you maybe do it in pencil so you can at least erase as you go. So we're gonna put some meat on the bones. Then we're going to start making it look more human. Yours can be any gender or not gender that you want. And then we're going to erase all our guidelines and do a little bit of shading there. Okay. And again, it doesn't have to look perfectly human. If you want to just do, you know, a really simple figure for now, it's mainly just about getting the proportions right and understanding the process. So so just start putting a little bit of meat on the bones. So whenever I do a neck, I'm going to take it from about the halfway point. So, and then I'm going to curve this down. And then I'll make the chin a bit pointier. So I'm going to start bringing in some other shapes which I'll expand on. So it's still going to look like I am robot for now. For the chest, a few simple shapes you can bring in for the chest is so it does, even though we're using the grid, it's quite easy to kind of miss a step, you know, miss a, like I've found in the past, I've missed a line and I've squashed everything up. So, you know, this is why it's good to like review it, check, and that's why I've written down where things should be. So fingertips are on line number 5. Carved should be line number 7. So again, adjust accordingly if it's not quite looking right. The next one, we'll start putting some kind of more meat on the bones kind of clothes. So you can become little fashion designers here and decide what your chapess is going to be wearing. Because unless you want to do somebody naked with just the anatomy,